Okay, let's go to Carl in Birmingham. Carl in Birmingham, you're on the air. Sorry, we lost Sean there.
Hi, Matt. Hi, yeah. So
yes, hello,
I think
Carl.
I think it's seen as controversial to tear down Churchill's statue, but I don't think people realise how racist this individual was. So in 1955, before the general election, Churchill is quoted as saying a good I think he did hate black people, or at least people of colour.
Well, I mean, I would not go so far as to say that, but I think what to me, what's become evident with all this is that we've never really had a proper conversation about our past, our colonial past. In the way that we should be having it, because we are, modern Britain is a multicultural society. There are, many people millions of people live in this country who come from places that used to be British colonies. And Churchill was very much a product of his time. And the fact that we can now, we're all waking up to the fact that he said some extremely offensive things about Indians and black people, and was to some extent complicit in the famine in Bengal. The fact that we now hear about Sir Edward Colston, the guy from Bristol, who most of us had never heard of before, actually what it really shows, doesn't it, Carl, is that we're just really quite ignorant about our own past, and we need to have that historical conversation. But I don't think personally that it can start with just talking about getting rid of statues or locking them up, behind metal boxes. I don't think that's going to lead anywhere. But we do need to have the conversation.
I think it should be made clear that Churchill was not fighting racism, though, in the Nazis, because he was, I would say, as racist as Adolf Hitler. There was no difference in that. He cared about the English people.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We part company there. Hitler was an entirely, Hitler basically concocted, organized on an industrial scale, the killing of people, Jews, homosexuals, of course, left-wing opponents as well, communist, socialists, mainly for who they were, for what they were born as, not for what they had done. It's completely different. It is a completely different thing. So I think, let's leave it at that. Carl, anyway, thanks for your call. Just to remind you that after the break,
So my first gripe in quite a while, or as it used to be referred to back in ye oldie days of 2017, simply ringing in to LBC. However, my aim here with this conversation was to put forward the steelman argument as to why Winston Churchill actually was a racist. Now, I understand the term racist is anti-white, I get that, trust me, but the definition of racist, as they define it, is anyone who understands that races are different, they identify different races, they understand they have different behaviours, and then they seek to act upon that information. And so, if you are saying so by that definition, Churchill had to be a racist. There is no debate whatsoever. But again, I am in favour myself of the point of making the argument altogether really was to at least attempt to communicate to the Civnats, the Spitfire Patriots, possibly listening to LBC, and say to them, look, Winston Churchill, he was racist. He wasn't fighting the racist fascists of Nazism. He himself cared about race. And what makes it even worse is he was making these comments after World War II, 10 years after we had just defeated the so-calledly white supremacist Nazis. You would think to yourself, wait a minute, Churchill, maybe don't talk about But he did. He really cared about race. And so for me, he was a nationalist, and possibly a definitive white nationalist. That is who he was. Of course, in the end, ironically, I was cut off for going too far in my anti-racism by the for daring to make the forbidden comparison between Winston Churchill and Adolf Hitler, even though for me it is a legitimate argument to make. We know Churchill, he identified race, and then you have Hitler. These two ways of speaking about races, why can't I compare them? They are similar, but clearly does not want to have Hitler's satanic image diminished in any way. He must always remain the pinnacle, the peak, the summit of evil. And if he was to be placed on an even playing field with Churchill, it could possibly begin to collapse the entire mythos around World War II. And that can never be allowed to happen. So, anyway, please let me know your thoughts on this. I will be doing more of these griping calls going forward, but please, can you yourself also ring in? Have a go, and really, what is the worst that can happen? Like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe. Please comment. Ilu Sassoon. Peace out.